we'll give it a minute more before we start, right?
Yeah. Hey, hi everyone. Probably just give another minute and then probably we can start. Okay. Do you want to start? You're muted.
Yeah, let's start. So, hello everyone. A very good afternoon to everyone in attendance. My name is Karan, and we both, me and Rachit, together co-hosting this session. So, the topic for today, like we have discussed in all our promotions and posts, is prepping up your Marketo instance for 2020. So before we get started, I'm just going to go through a few housekeeping slides that we need to go through. So those are the Marketo user group house rules. So in order to ensure that mugs stay user focused and a safe place for members of the marketing nation to learn, network, and solve problems, we ask that all members attendees follow these rules. So there's no self promotion of pitching or pitching of any kind. Uh, don't contact people outside of the user group without their consent. And if any mug member happens to share their use case, do take the consent before if you have to share it anywhere else. And what we are going to be talking today, it's not endorsed by Marketo or Adobe. These are our own research and our reviews that we are presenting, and no, in no shape, form, or way is accountable by Adobe. So just want to clear that. So if you haven't signed up for the mug email updates, here are the links for that. I'll just go ahead and take you through the links. So that's the to sign up for Marketer user groups. That is the link for the email subscription center if you want to make any changes or amendments to the email settings for your subscription center. And yeah, this is an exciting part. So if you haven't already joined Purple Select, do go ahead and join it immediately, and you get to start solving challenges and earn swags. So just to show you a sneak peek of that, here's how the Purple Select looks like. I'm logged in. That's my login here. So like you can see here, there are several various easy challenges. Fun. It's basically the fun part of Marketing Nation. So as and when you all these challenges, you get these respective points, and it gets added on into your profile. And once you accumulate a certain amount of points, you get to go ahead and claim a lot of exciting rewards that's shown here. So there are tons and tons of rewards with associated points. And yeah, those are the options to claim that. So do sign up for the Purple Select and get started on that at the earliest. And another great news. So the Marketo customer marketing team has been selected for the marketing program of the year BAMI Awards by Inflative. So they really require all of your help in the form of votes in order for us to win. So if you haven't already, if you aren't a Purple Select member, do go and sign up for Purple Select. And there is this challenge right in Purple Select that you can see where you can go ahead and cast your vote for the Marketo customer marketing team. I'm just going to do that as we speak. All you need to do is you got my vote, and that's it. That's how you vote, and there you go. I got an extra additional 100 points as well. So yeah, that's nice. So there's just 2 more days to go. So do cast your vote for the Marketo customer marketing team. We really need that.
I think the last date is
And
today to cast the vote.
yeah, India time. Yeah, that's today. True. So yeah, to make sure of that. And the upcoming opportunities for MUG members. So uh, here's something that we always promote. So go ahead and sign up for the Advocate Nation. The link is right here. Yeah, so join the Advocate Nation if you haven't already. So this provides tons and tons of opportunities for one to increase their visibility, grow their personal brand and career. Uh, the Marketo Champion Program applications for 2020 recently closed. So I hope all the Marketo certified experts have applied for it. So this is a great opportunity, and even for other members, a lot of opportunities is coming up. So do apply and sign up for this. And this is one of the new content assets that has come up recently. So 5 steps to becoming one of revenue team with sales for ABM. So Marketo keeps updating new content like this. So it is one of the great ways to stay up to date and see how the product is evolving and what are the new features and what's new, the latest and greatest in Marketo. So do download this guide, take a look at it. It's amazing. And now are the upcoming Marketo user group meetings. I'm so sorry, Rajat, just wanted to check. This call is being recorded, right? I totally
Yeah.
forgot to ask. Yeah, great. And here are the upcoming Marketo user group meetings. So like you can see, we are hosting us today. And the reason it's less this month is because by mid of this month, most of the business in the US shut down. So if any of you are in either of these areas, you can go ahead and visit them. And for the topic for today, so over to you, Rajat. I'm going to stop
Thank you.
sharing.
Yeah, I'll start sharing my screen. Okay, thanks everyone for joining in. It's a really exciting topic. I know, like, at the end of the year, a lot of us are actually planning for 2020 and starting to think what is it that we should do in our market instance, what is it that we should clean up, and how is it we should prepare for 2020 marketing plans. So both Karan and I would be presenting today. So, like, we are the mark leader, so we thought we'll do the last session of the year, and we have, like, added our LinkedIn link, profile links, or community links. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if you need more info. Okay, so like I said earlier, like, this whole session was thought that we would be not just talking about what is it there to clean up in Marketo, because I know, like, at the end of the year, a lot of companies and agencies would start promoting that we should be cleaning up our database or cleaning up old assets, etc. But there's actually a lot more that should be done when you are looking to refresh your Marketo instance. So if we look at the trends for 2020, you'll see that the key trends are sky high expectations from brands' customer experience. So customer experience is becoming the most important thing. Like, at this stage where consumerism is really high, people are willing to pay much higher if the entire brand experience is good. So the price points and the key product USPs are relevant to some extent, but overall the whole customer experience thing is becoming the most important thing for businesses to grow and scale. Then high tech capabilities are becoming mainstream. So you can see a lot of events that happen, or a lot of marketing channels are now exploring AI and virtual reality. So this is something which is going to increase in 2020. And as in when, like, we see that more and more devices are rolled out in market to support these, more and more people are going to engage via these channels. So that's something that's becoming important. Then, how do we stay customer centric while we comply to all the data privacy laws? So, this is something that we are going to cover in the upcoming slides as well. But we know last year we had GDPR, we have CCPA coming, then we have New York privacy law, and a lot of different laws are actually coming in 2020. So how do we make sure that we stay customer centric? We make sure that we are able to personalize the content and our marketing campaigns while we stay compliant. So that's going to be another big trend for 2020. And lastly, machine learning and predictive analytics, especially for companies where the volume is really high or it's growing. It's really hard for marketing folks to create all the data analytics reports, dashboards, and gather insights. So that's where analytics is going to be a very critical piece for companies to build their marketing strategies and use them for tweaking their campaigns and optimizing them. So from like these are the key trends. So how do we make sure that from a Marketo user perspective, we are able to support these trends and we are able to adopt these trends within our company? So in order to make sure that we are in the right position, we need to make sure that we have a market instance that captures, processes, and maintains the data accurately. And data, while it has been one of the most critical things from last few years for marketing, everyone has been talking about data-driven marketing. At the same time, it has become equally important that we stay compliant. So it's not just about data-driven marketing now, it's about data-driven marketing while staying compliant. When you have a lot of regulations and rules to tell you like what is the data that you can capture versus what is that you can store or not store. So maintaining instance like that, then making sure that all your marketing tech stacks are seamlessly integrated with more and more marketing channels and increasing like the whole number of marketing tech which are getting added to the annual martech landscape. It is important that whichever technologies that you're using, they integrate very well with your market instance. Then have an instance that supports digital transformation and data-driven analytics. So this means that you need to have proper infrastructure in place so that you can easily scale, as well as if your company decides to go for a digital transformation where they're looking at all the different engagement touch points, you are able to support that. And lastly, have backend processes which are fully optimized to make sure that your sales and marketing as well as your customer success team is aligned. Historically, it has been mostly about sales and marketing, but as business is changing, it's becoming more about customer success, sales, and marketing. So all three are equally important stakeholders in that data now. So this is a very interesting image that we in fact use for our internal sessions as well. So from our experience, we can see that different market instances, especially the ones which have been several years old, they would have different people who would join the company, leave the company. But whenever these two kind of transitions happen, people leave their legacy. They would create different types of processes, campaigns, programs, etc. And typically, we as marketers get to a stage where we would be getting a problem. We would try to make some fixes in Marketo, put some patches in place, and let it run. However, on a bigger picture, we realize that there have been so many patches that have been added on our Marketo instance that it becomes impossible to scale. So it's really critical that rather than focusing on putting in small patches, for 2020, we should be looking at how do we transform our marketing automation process, which could involve your campaign management, your data management, analytics, reporting, CRM, anything. But whatever has to be done, it has to be done in a manner which doesn't get implemented as a patch, but something that is going to be used for the longer run. Okay, so for 2020, the key things that we feel that you should be looking at to prepare marketing instances, customer experience, making sure that the experience for your customers, and when I say customers, not only those who are paying you, but also the ones who are prospectives. So improving the experience for them, then ensuring the data-driven alignment across different stakeholders, security and compliance with all the laws and compliance regulations, and lastly, platform management. So these are the four key things that we're going to cover today that can help you prep up your instance for 2020. Okay, so starting with the first one, customer experience. So the key things under customer experience, mobile first approach, then consistent brand experience, cross-channel marketing, and event on-site experience. So mobile first approach. Historically, in the past few years, I've seen a lot of marketers who have been building responsive emails and landing pages, which was fine during that time. But now it's time to switch gears and build emails which are future proof. You really cannot build emails which are for desktop and then try to transform them to look great on iPad or mobile devices. Your designers and you have to build emails and landing pages which are created with a mobile first approach. So imagine how an email would look on a mobile device, what would be the CTAs, what would be the look and feel. All of that has to be thought from a mobile perspective, and then it has to be transformed into a desktop version. Additionally, you should start looking at digital accessibility guidelines. So digital accessibility guidelines, they have been in news for web development for some time, but not for email. For email, it's fairly new. So for email, it really means that people who have any sort of physical disabilities like color blindness, or they are using any legacy email clients like older versions of Lotus or Outlook, they should be able to access the emails that you're sending out. So your emails have to make sure that they are not too complicated in design or do not have code elements which do not render well across old email clients. You have to make sure that your all assets, emails as well as landing page, are created with a mobile first approach for 2020. I added a link for the checklist. So Litmus, which is the email testing application, it provides a checklist to evaluate how accessible your emails are. So it would be a really good exercise to look at some of your existing emails and then compare it with the checklist. Then consistent brand experience. So as everyone has been talking about cross-channel marketing, omni-channel marketing, and making sure that we are creating multiple touch points for all our leads, it's really critical that we deliver a consistent experience. So whether we are sending out any kind of nurture emails or newsletters, landing pages, or even if we are doing offline mailers, which are integrated with Marketo or any sort of third-party apps, etc., you have to make sure that the brand experience is consistent. And the brand experience could be the messaging that's being used, or the colors that are being used, or the tagging that you're using. So as an example, you really cannot have a different color see logo or image in your email versus on the landing page to which the user is being directed. So it's very important that you keep consistency, because that's going to help you scale when the number of campaigns are going to increase or when the number of assets are going to increase. Then cross-channel marketing, something that has been an important theme before ABM and even after ABM, where we should be looking at how we can integrate our Marketo instance with different apps. So there are a lot of different apps that Marketo provides on its own now, which is a really good thing, as well as there are a lot of other features that we could use with third-party apps. So as an example, like you could integrate Marketo with apps like PFL, which allows you for offline mailers and offline marketing. Then SMS marketing, there are several apps on the launch point which allow you to do that, video, Whoosh, etc. And then Marketo has native functionalities where it can integrate with your mobile apps if your company has one, to manage your push notifications and content engagement. And similarly, making sure that your market instance is fully integrated with social as well as other paid retargeting platforms. So it's really critical for you to focus on these things so that the campaigns are optimized and you get a better ROI of the marketing dollars that you're spending across different channels. Then event on-site experience. So I know a lot of companies who would spend huge amount of money on events. Like we personally spend a huge amount on events, and it's one of our key channels for generating engagement. However, what a lot of companies not do is they would not focus a lot on the experience on the on-site. Like from as marketers, we have usually focused on building the emails before the event, like sending out the invites, reminders, and then doing post follow-up emails, etc. But a lot of us really do not look at the actual on-site experience that the event attendees are going to have. So it's important that we start exploring apps which allow us to do so. So Marketo has its own event check-in app, which is fairly decent now. Like it's really good if you want to manage the check-ins and capture the information of people who were invited and who are coming and attending the event. Then you can explore options like offline forms, etc. Like the most annoying thing that as marketing operations we get is people sending us scanned copies of visiting cards and asking them to upload them as leads. So, or getting just a spreadsheet. So we really want to make sure that a lot of information is captured in the right manner and it's easy to bring it over to Marketo. So this is another thing that we feel you should be exploring in 2020. Any questions, feel free to put that in the Q&A section and we'll be happy to look at those. Okay, switching gears now. So the next thing is around security and compliance. And this has been one of the most talked about topics since GDPR came, even before GDPR came. So the key things around here are the compliance laws. So GDPR, CCPA, and New York privacy law, which is going to come soon. Then the spam and bot attacks and the compliance data points. So talking about the first one, so GDPR, CCPA, and many other laws. So what has been happening is that, like probably a decade back, a lot of marketers were not focusing on what are the data points that they are capturing versus how are they processing that data. But it is really important now that to stay compliant, you have a very clear understanding and you have documented processes which capture how your data is being captured, where is it coming from, and who's using it and what happens with that data. So it's really critical to audit your data processes and also review any kind of third-party relationships. So any third-party integrations that you have with Marketer, look at what access do they have. Do they have access to the leads? Do they have access to modify the data on your system? Review those relationship contracts and identify and document them, because that's what's going to be helpful in case of an audit. Then try to limit what you collect about consumers. So this is the most tricky thing. Like it, from a marketer's perspective, we have always wanted to collect as many data points as much we can to create more personalized content and optimize our campaigns. But to make sure that we are compliant with the law, we also have to make sure that we limit what we are collecting. So it is really important that we collect only the information which is critical. So if we feel that we need some particular data point to personalize a campaign, I think that's okay to do. But if we are asking for a particular information just for the sake of it, I think it's better not to ask it. And then set up like internal data privacy review initiatives. So on a quarterly basis or every 6 months, try to look at your leads. How did they come in, and see if there have been any compliance complaints, or if your if leads have come in your system but they are not fully opted in. So keep a regular check on your data. Adding on to that, like some of the key data points that we feel you should keep in your marketer instance, especially with GDPR and CCPA. So make sure that you're capturing the privacy policy consent, the date when you got the consent, and the source. So the source could be like if someone filled out a contact us form, that could be the source. It doesn't have to be the actual source from where the person came. It just has to be the source where the consent was captured. Then for all the marketing subscriptions that you have, try to have individual opt-in checkboxes, the date, the source for that opt-in, and similarly the opt-out whenever that happens. Then capture first opt-in checkbox, opt-in date, opt-in source, etc. And similarly opt-in. And lastly, capture the data when someone is opting out from your system. Like if someone is unsubscribing, capture when you got the request and like from which email did it come. So usually you would get the unsubscribe request from your preference center or the unsubscribe page, but try to capture from which particular email you got this request, because Marketo does not explicitly track that in a specific field. Like it's recorded in the activity log, but if you want to pull out a list of all the emails from where different leads would have subscribed, it's really hard to do that without some customization. Okay, then spam and bot attacks. So a lot of websites, irrespective of how big or small they are, like be it mid-market or SMBs or enterprise websites, they are being attacked. Like every other week, there is a DDoS attack happening on websites, and you'll see that there are spam bots that are filling out your forms. So it is really critical that you put in checks to make sure that these spam bots do not impact your backend marketer processes. So we had this issue probably several months back where a bot from Philippines, it filled out close to 5,000 form. It filled out our form 5,000 times, and that caused alerts going out to different sales folks and different regional teams, which was really bad. So that's when we started exploring different kinds of capture. Initially, we just had Capture 2.0, the one that Google offers, but it was really not good from a user experience perspective, especially when we are trying to target an executive audience. We really didn't want that they should come on our website, try to fill out a form, and Google asks them to select bridges or stores, etc. So that's luckily gone. So now it is recommended that you should explore reCAPTCHA v3. So it's a new capture which is invisible. So it just does kind of scoring on your website for each user on the basis of their web browsing behavior. And on the basis of that, it tries to capture whether it's a genuine lead or a spam lead. So this is another thing that you can explore for 2020 to make sure that your marketing database stays clean and hygienic. Okay, data-driven alignment. Karan, you want to pick this?
Yeah, sure. So data-driven alignment. So primarily when we discuss data-driven alignment, a couple of points that we are going to be discussing today is data quality, managing fields, field management, and scoring refresh. So let's look at data quality. So for clean data and Marketo, there is a couple of important things that we need to evaluate from time to time to ensure that the data is clean, and especially at the beginning of the year, so that you have a seamless, and clean data endeavor going forward. So monitor no at email addresses and invalid email addresses that are there in your database. Negative email verification and people who are no longer at the company, or perhaps move to a new company. So perhaps use a data enrichment tool, or consider removing them from your database. Managing having processes for unsubscribes, having subscription centers, and keep a check on how many unsubscribes are there in the system and manage them accordingly. Multiple spam bounces, so set count and reset, marketing suspended, email invalid. So these are the data that you need to have a critical eye on. Old or unengaged leads, so basically leads who haven't, say, engaged with you in the past full year, consider sending them a last chance email, or a series of a last chance email, perhaps an engagement program, maybe, just to see if they are engaging with your content at all. And if there is still no engagement, consider maybe removing them from your database to make sure that you have a healthy database and a database full of people who are engaging with your content. And keep a check on people who are not visiting your web page and are not active. Again, it goes on the same lines. And duplicates, that's another critical thing that you should evaluate and manage right at the beginning of the year to make sure that your marketing efforts are directed in the proper direction. uh, Next slide, please. Field management. So one essential question that comes when you talk about field management is your marketing and sales team using the same fields for reporting? Oftentimes there are discrepancies and problems here. So a couple of suggestions or best practices that goes along the lines of field management and to handle it efficiently is hide fields which are no longer in use, change field types and reuse fields, ask support to delete fields or merge duplicate fields. That's something that support can do. So if you
Yeah,
have.
a lot of people feel that Marketo cannot delete fields, but if you reach out to Marketo support, in most cases they would be happy to delete your bad fields. So you'll have to decide whether you want to hide the fields or delete the fields, depending on whether you want to retain the data on those fields or you're okay with that data going away.
Yeah. And another point is ensure correct CRM and Marketo field mapping. This goes a long way in making sure that your sales and marketing teams are aligned and they both are using the same fields for concurrent values to communicate with each other. Ensure consistent field pick list values in Marketo and CRM, and do a data audit for field normalization. And even as a best practice, like I always earlier when I used to work in consulting, I always used to do a data audit for my clients every quarter or biannually, just to make sure that their marketing goals are on track and it's realized from time to time. And if there are any tweaks or adjustment or changes that needs to be made at any point in time, we are very well aware of that, and we make those changes right well in time. So yeah, next slide, please. Scoring refresh. So essential question is scoring still a good exercise? Well, I think it's most certainly is, but does require keeping a good eye on a few important essential points. So audit your MQLs that got converted and MQLs that were disqualified. This would give you a fair idea of how your scoring model was and how you can sort of tweak it for the good. Uh, Moreover, email opens and clicks, and start scoring on content, engagement, and success.
Yeah.
Enhance. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on to that, like if you read on Marketo community, there are actually a lot of discussions around email clicks and opens being tracked due to bot activity. Like as more and more email scanning applications and antivirus applications are being adopted, the emails are actually opened and each of the links in the emails are clicked by those bots and they get recorded in Marketo as an activity. So it's really critical that you do not rely on these activities for your scoring and rather score on the actual content engagement. So if you're sending out a white paper, don't just score on who opened or who clicked. Score a person who you feel did actually read that particular white paper.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree more on that. And another crucial point is, unlike earlier times, today Marketo is integrated with a lot of other tech stacks. I mean, a lot of clients use several tech stacks for their requirements, and Marketo is an integral part which is integrated with them. So you can really enhance your lead scoring and scoring rules by integrating data from every part of your tech stack. So that ensures that the scoring that happens in Marketo is not siloed and is considering all the activities that your leads are doing or performing or the way they are engaging in the overall ecosystem or universe of your tech stack.
Yeah,
And
and just to add on to that, like in the past year or so, I have seen a lot of conversations around account scoring. With the rise of ABM, a lot of companies feel that account scoring is more important than lead scoring. But if you actually go and try to do account scoring, you would be doing lead scoring as part of it. Like the account score is going to be high or low depending on how the leads and contacts under those accounts are engaging. So it's really important that you continue to score and you score on the right data points and engagement points. It's not that you should be scoring each and every one in your database, but it's really important that every engagement that you feel could have an impact on the engagement of an account or towards the lead for the lead to become an incur, you should do that. So the engagement touch points could be as small as like whenever webinar is happening, applications like GoToWebinar or Zoom Webinar, they integrate with Marketo and they're able to tell how much did the person attend the webinar. So whether they attended it for a minute versus they attended for the entire run. So you have to see whether you want to score them equally or in a different manner. So those smaller touch points are going to be more effective when you're trying to do a scoring refresh. So look at all those data, different tech stacks and different data points, and then refresh your scoring model while you work with the sales team.
Yep, absolutely. And talking about sales, so don't just ask sales. I mean, consider working with them closely to define your scoring model, tweak them from time to time, and see what really their goals are, and does those goals align with the marketing goals? Because it's extremely important to have sales as a key stakeholder while designing and making changes constantly as your goals are realized, or if the speed slows down. It's very important to keep sales in the loop. And finally, explore lead scoring decay. That primarily what I mean by that is leads. So who perform a certain activity, or who let's take a very simple example. Leads who unsubscribe, you might want to give them a DK or a negative score. So that the equilibrium of
Yeah.
scoring is really well.
I actually remember Joshua added an example for this. So do we really want to score a person who engaged with a report, but that report was from 2015? So do we want to score them? So that's the question that you have to decide. It's not about scoring decay. It's not just about if a person has been inactive for a while or they visit a negative page on your website. It has also to be considered with relevant with relation to the content that you have. If your content is outdated, if someone is engaging with that, probably that person should not be scored as high as someone else engaging with a latest piece of content, even though both the content types are same.
Yeah.
So those are the things that you should consider.
So next is platform management. When we talk about things that you should immediately get started with or be excited about right at the beginning of the year for Marketo, uh, these are a couple of points which would really benefit to have very close attention on, which are uh, to check key metrics and what to see in notifications. Nomenclature. So yeah, coming to notifications. So uh,
Sorry.
yeah, that's all right. That's all right. So yeah, it's good to go on that one. So yeah, so monitoring market alert notifications can go a long way to see how the platform is performing, what is set up right, what's not set up right, and it can give a lot of detailed insights. So identifying leads that are failing to sync with CRM and their root cause analysis, that's a big one. I mean, you get plenty of notifications around that. Identify web service errors, review triggered campaigns which have been deactivated by Marketo due to no activity. That happens quite often. And identify issues for any integrated launch point app. So these are all the notifications that primarily you should keep an eye on.
Yeah, and mostly on a day-to-day basis, like we actually skip looking at these. Like they keep coming into market instance and they keep piling on. But once in a while, you realize that there was something important that got missed. So it's really important that either you put in proper subscription so you can subscribe to different kind of notifications, or probably on a weekly basis, just look at the whole list. Like there would be a lot of issues that you can identify sooner and fix before they actually cause bigger problems.
Yeah. So the next one is nomenclature. This is crucially and critically important. In fact, there was a very recent article on the community as well that beautifully explains details around nomenclature. So a couple of points that needs to be kept in mind is start including program ID in your naming conventions. Build a program name generator sheet or an app. In fact, one of the clients in my one of my previous companies, they use a very effective name generation sheet that made it really efficient for them to name programs, name assets, and in fact, managing the nomenclature of their entire instance with that one tool. So that's something like that can really be helpful. Ensure naming conventions are easily searchable and identifiable, which is one of the primary reason. I mean, we don't want to be spending a lot of time just because we are wanting to search something and we're not able to get it. So that's one of the prime objectives. And go deeper. That is again. So like I explained before, don't just use naming conventions for programs. Use it for all the assets, all the campaigns, or anything should have a very structured and detailed naming convention so that it's easy to identify and easy to report on and
Yeah.
give your insights on.
Also, I'll briefly add some details around including program ID in your naming convention. So this is slightly unconventional. Like we will not see a lot of Marketo instances where this is done, but it is really important because when you're following a naming convention and when the end campaign owners are working on building campaigns. So as an example, if you have a send email flow step and you're trying to select an email, a lot of emails are going to look similar because there could be slight changes in the name, but they'll still be called invite or confirmation, etc. So there are chances that a wrong email gets selected, which happens quite often. So it is important that if you have the program ID, the person can directly put in the program ID and will make sure that only the right emails are showing up rather than emails from all the other programs which are having a similar name.
Yeah. And finally, archiving. So it's simple. What you don't need, you archive it. So a couple of points here are consider archiving like an asset, program, campaign, or folder type, etc. That you're not using primarily. And archiving essentially tells Marketo to no longer display or prioritize an asset. Uh, Create archive folders by date like z.archive 2019 so that it's not coming in the way of your other programs like in nomenclature. Again, one of the things is one of the best practices that I essentially followed was 001 dot name, 02 dot name, that essentially orders it. So z.archive usually puts it at the bottom, and that makes it easier to identify as well. And programs like programs that you don't use, or specifically engagement programs that you don't use, make sure to pause them before you archive them, because archiving is not deleting a program or an asset. It just like I said, tells Marketo no longer to display or prioritize that. So make sure to pause your engagement programs before you archive them.
Okay. So before we actually go to the poll, probably there are some questions that we can take on. So we have a question like around CASL and Australian Spam Act 2003. So we're talking about CASL, the Canada Anti-Spam Law, which can spam, as it's commonly referred by many of us. Those are fairly old. So when these laws came, they primarily required that we should be sending out email only to those people who have signed up on our website or who have given us consent, and they have a way to opt out. So like it was mandatory that we identify ourselves in our email. So making sure that we include the address of the company in the email, there is a proper opt-out link, and we are only sending out to those people who signed up. Like we are not doing any kind of a list buy or purchasing data from third-party sources to spam people. So that's what, on a high level, CSL and Australia's spam law was about. But GDPR and CCPA, they are more sophisticated in nature, more stringent. They are beyond email marketing, and it's about how do you manage the data, how do you store it, how for how long do you keep it, when do you have to delete it, and it comes with much heavier penalties for the companies. So anyone who feels that they are fully compliant with GDPR and CCPA, I personally feel they should be covered for probably most of the privacy laws in different regions. Okay, the next one is there a way to identify the bots? How does one figure that clicks did not result in actual view of content? So talking about bots, so there are several posts on the community. There is a blog by Demand Lab where they'll put in like they share some filters that you could put in your smart lists or smart campaigns, that if the platform is from a server like from Windows NT or a browser which is not commonly used by our audiences like Linux and all, that's when you can exclude and not never rely on just one trigger. Like if you are planning to see that who are the people who actually clicked in your email, you should look at people who visited the web page and clicked on the link in the email. So if you use these two filters and put in some additional checks, like you should be able to get fairly accurate data. Like it'll still not be 100% accurate, but there are chances that it will exclude most of the common bots. Like I'm happy to put the links and details on the Marketo user group as well to this. So like you can always go and refer to that. Okay.
Somebody asked, I in fact just typed it out. So, does archiving program also turn off active smart campaigns within it? No. So, active smart assets or campaigns that are within an archive program will still continue to work. In fact, you can also sort assets for reporting, archived assets for reporting as well. What does happen is it stops. It no longer appear in auto suggests or archive pages. It can't be used in landing page test groups and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the reason we initially told that before, like for an engagement program, so make sure to pause it before you archive it, because it will still continue to
Yeah.
work.
Okay. Regarding the links to the community post, so like a lot of links are included in this deck. So after the session and when we share the recording, like we'll share the deck as well. So it has a lot of links, so you can access those. Okay. If a person unsubscribes from an email, is that person restricted to send email from that campaign or from that instance? So if a person is unsubscribing, like you if you're updating the unsubscribe field, in that case you cannot send any other email from your marketer instance except the operational ones. But if you want to make sure that a person unsubscribes from a particular type of email, you should probably set up custom preferences like custom subscription fields for those different content types, and then let the person unsubscribe from the ones that he doesn't want to receive. Regarding reCAPTCHA, so reCAPTCHA v3 versus 2.0, it's really new to me as well. But what I understand is that reCAPTCHA 2.0, it was added on the form, and the way it used to work with Google validation is that Google, in some cases, Google will ask you to, it would show you a image and it will ask you to select bridges or stores to validate whether you are human or not. So that was creating a really bad user experience. Whereas what Google reCAPTCHA v3 does is that it does kind of a scoring. So there is a score that it calculates for the users on the basis of their web activity. And when a person is engaging and they fill out this form, they pass a particular token ID that you can capture in Marketo. And from Marketo, you have to do a server-side validation. So you have to run a webhook by passing this token ID and send it to Google server. And then Google in return will tell you whether it's a legit lead or not. So it's slightly more complicated, but the good thing is that since it's invisible, it really doesn't impact the end user experience. which we feel is a really good thing.
And
Okay,
another one is there a way to turn off these smart campaigns in bulk?
we wish there was.
It's Sky actually in Marketo Sky. There is bulk actions that has been launched. So if you guys are using Marketo Sky, then there is option to mass approve or mass delete or mass activate or mass deactivate smart campaigns. So yeah, you should check out those features.
Okay, yeah, that's really helpful to know. Even I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think there's one more. Is there a way to automate lead scoring based on the timing the lead has attended the webinar, or is it more of a manual process? So if you're using Zoom, it actually depends on how Zoom is integrated with your market instance. So Zoom recently came up with their launchpoint integration. So like if that's the one that you're using, you do have an option to set up a custom data object in Marketo where whenever a lead attends a particular webinar, Zoom will be able to update the data around your how much time did the person attend, what was the attendance percentage, etc. So all of this can be captured within that custom data object. And with that custom data object, you could probably run real-time scoring campaigns. So as an example, it could be as simple as that whenever a new record gets added on your webinar custom data object and has a attendance percentage higher than 60% or 70%, you could score them on a real-time basis. So that should help. Okay, if we click on unsubscribe link of an email sent to a person, will this link be able to addresses which we know? Is there any? So the unsubscribe link that goes in the email, those are usually personalized. They are not common, but because they have the marketer tokens, but in most cases, the unsubscribe page should have an email address where the user should put in the actual email address that they want to unsubscribe from. So I think there is no other way by which we could restrict the unsubscribe link so that other people can't unsubscribe. Yeah. Any more questions? No. Okay. All right. Coming to the last part, so we'll quickly launch a poll. So what we wanted to do was probably understand what are the topics that we should be picking up for the upcoming mugs. So I'm just going to launch a poll in Zoom, and it should be on your screens now. So you can just like select like which are the topics that you're interested in to hear from future VMUG sessions, and Karan and I can plan accordingly, and like we can try to find more speakers around those topics and see how we can get more engagement. So probably another 30 seconds and then we'll end the polling.
Yeah. And also apart from this, like if any of you have any other, wider general
Sorry, like I just realized like there should have been multiple options. I missed doing that. So in case like there is any topic which is not on this list, just feel free to put that on chart here. So we'll be happy to consider those as well.
chat, or in the last slide, you have both of our email addresses. So feel free to send us an email as well.
Okay, and meanwhile that happens, there is actually one more question that I missed. Archiving program will remove program for reporting or not? And we can track, click an open email, but how to track download white paper or PDFs? So like when we are talking about
I already,
archive,
yeah. So archiving will not remove it from reporting. It just stops
yeah,
from auto suggests.
yeah. Regarding tracking PDFs, etc. So I've seen several companies embedding their PDFs on actual HTML pages. So I have seen Adobe doing it itself for their marketing campaigns where the PDFs when you get their emails and you try to open the PDF file, it does not actually open up in a particular in the PDF opener. It actually opens in a HTML page, and that could be used for identifying who are the people who are engaging with the PDFs. Okay, so I see a lot of people have voted, so we'll end the poll.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Uh, Karan, you wanna talk about this?
Yeah. Yeah. So, way back when we started this, we had our second mug where we gave a lot of product updates in terms of where Marketo is evolving, and after the Adobe acquisition, the changes that were made. So we had discussed that it's still on the community. So another great thing that has happened is a few Marketo product managers right from Marketo itself are working directly with us and partnering with us in terms of connecting with customers and taking first-hand feedbacks for how you customers want Marketo to evolve, what is going well with you, if there are any problems or areas or anything in Marketo that you want to address. So you have access to these product managers who are working with India VMUG directly. So these are their names. So Shrikant works on the AI ML platform and bot activities. He's also working on a lot of predictive features. Vikram primarily handles admin, design studio, and Marketo Sky, new innovations in Sky. Danik, who is a senior product manager, his primary expertise is CRM integrations, and Raghav, who recently joined the Adobe team, has his expertise as web personalization. So feel free to reach out to them. Their email addresses are here, and also you can fill out this short survey. It redirects to a very short form. Where you just type in your name, email address, and area of interest where you the area of interest that you wish to discuss with the product managers, and they will be happy to schedule a time with you.
Yeah, and I just pasted the link of this form on the Zoom chat, so you can access it from there, and it'll be part of the deck that we share.
Yeah.
Okay. No more questions. Okay. All right. If there's any feedback or comments or suggestions, feel free to email Karan or myself. We have our email addresses included in the deck, or you can simply message us on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Telegram. So all of that works. And thanks again for joining, and wish you a great end of year's holiday season. And it's going to be a really exciting 2020 for all of us, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and we just discussed. So make sure to send us your comments, recommendations, or anything that you want to hear from us, or